If you direct your gaze toward the constellation, also called Andromeda, you'll see there a faint blur of light, unlike that of any of the stars. This represents the outer horizon of the naked human eye. Andromeda Galaxy, slightly larger than our own Milky Way, comes to our eyes from 2.5 million light years away. Something happens in the soul of a person gazing at a blur of light while knowing this blur is a galaxy with hundreds of billions of stars. Something happens inside. A spaciousness opens up in psychic congruence with galactic spaciousness. That blur required millions of years to make it here, to an eye that now knows all of this. To gaze at Andromeda Galaxy is to enter the spaciousness of a galaxy, but it is also to learn a new sense of time concerning the human venture. The human journey is as immense in time as Andromeda Galaxy is distant in space. Andromeda and Milky Way are large galaxies that slowly pinwheel about each other. Each has a dozen or so galaxies that encircle them, called satellite galaxies. This whole system, consisting of the Milky Way, Andromeda, and all of their encircling galaxies, is spread out over 3.5 million light years, contains at least 500 billion stars, and is called by astronomers the local group. Just as planet Earth revolves around the sun, so too does our local group revolve around another central hub, the Virgo Cluster. Virgo is a gigantic cluster, consisting of 1,000 galaxies, 53 million light years away. Our local group, along with hundreds of others, all revolve around this Virgo cluster at the center. When we reflect upon this entire supercluster system, upon its thousands and thousands of galaxies, each of which might contain 10 million intelligent planets, the primate mind begins to dissolve. We tremble at the vista, only because we never realized we were this immense. The educational efforts of the next century will include strengthening our self-identity until we can easily recognize that even this vast body of the universe is our own as well. Notice what we have so far. The Earth travels around the sun. The sun sails around the center of the Milky Way galaxy. The Milky Way and Andromeda, as well as our satellite galaxies, form one of the groups that travels around the Virgo cluster. But when we come to the Virgo supercluster, we discover something different. The superclusters are not moving around any other center. In fact, Edwin Hubble discovered something so startling that many physicists regard his discovery as the most significant of the 20th century. What he discovered is that when you look out at the superclusters of galaxies, you find the superclusters are all moving away from us. This is true whether we look at the clusters that are straight above the Milky Way, or to the west, or to the south, or east, or north, or down below. In every direction, we find clusters of galaxies expanding away from us. Reflecting on this bizarre information coming from the astronomers, the physicists concluded that the universe as a whole must have begun as a point that exploded in a titanic burst of energy. For not only are the galaxies expanding away from each other, they are moving away with a velocity related to the space in between them. The farther apart they are, the faster they're flying away. Galaxies that are twice as far apart are sailing away twice as fast from each other. The same holds throughout the entire universe. Galaxies that are 10 times as far apart sail away 10 times as fast. The mathematical conclusion could not be more startling. By tracing the trajectories of the superclusters of galaxies backwards in time, we find an event of cataclysmic energy where all trillion galaxies are brought into a single point, the birthplace of the universe. There, in that place, the entire cosmos began as a pinprick, a sextillion-ton pinprick layered with the power to thunder forth into this vast universe. This complex array, including the Magellanic Clouds, the Milky Way galaxy, Andromeda galaxy, with the local satellite galaxies, the 1,000 galaxies of the Virgo cluster, and all the superclusters that line the Great Wall, all of these are sailing off from initial birthplace. And each supercluster rushes away from every other supercluster, all of them emerging from a single point, the birthplace not only of the galaxies, but ultimately of ourselves, our bodies, our families, the sun, the moon, everything. The idea that the universe began in one place is certainly an ancient one in human history. Such images as a cosmic egg which cracks open at the beginning of time, gives birth to all the phenomena, these are found throughout the planet. Thus, the scientific discovery has a dual nature of being both old and new simultaneously. The overarching image of a cosmic birth is very ancient, but our ability to measure it physically is new. In 1965, Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson at Bell Labs captured some of the light from the beginning of time. And it's because of this that we can now say the birthplace of the universe is 15 billion light years away. The light they discovered originated in a primeval fireball and traveled 15 billion years to reach us. To trace these photons back to their origin 15 billion light years away is thus to follow the trail back to that sacred place where the universe first flared forth into existence. That place from which the photons left is the cosmic center, the world's navel, the sacred origin point of being. That is the place endowed with the stupendous fecundity necessary to give birth to an entire cosmos. In order to appreciate what this means, we have to go to a new level of understanding. I stated earlier that the galaxy clusters are moving away from us in all directions. What I did not point out then is the startling conclusion that in terms of the cosmic expansion, we find ourselves at the center. This is indeed a strange and most unexpected development. If such a discovery had been made during the medieval period of Europe, it would have caused no surprise, for the presiding worldview at that time put the Earth at the center of the universe. To extend Earth's centrality to the center of the expansion of the galaxies would have made no great demands on the medieval mind. But of course, when Hubble made this discovery, we no longer lived within the medieval worldview. We had already learned that the Earth is not a fixed point at the center of the universe. Earth is but one planet moving around a single star, which itself is one of 300 billion stars of the Milky Way, which in turn is one of 1 trillion galaxies of the entire universe. If we've learned anything over the last 400 years since Copernicus, we've certainly learned that the Earth is not a fixed center around which all the planets and stars revolve. And yet, here is this new revelation, placing us at the center of the cosmic expansion. What are we supposed to make of it? Hubble's discovery is not a contradiction of what Copernicus learned. Hubble's discovery of the expanding universe is instead the completion of the exploration that Copernicus started. Copernicus initiated an investigation of the universe that removed the Earth from the center of the universe. But after 400 years of empirical inquiry, a great reversal has taken place. Not one that takes us back to the cozy, medieval, geocentric world, but one that takes us out into an immense evolutionary cosmos, one centered on its own expansion. In order to fully appreciate this new understanding of the cosmic center, we must now deal with a paradox at the very heart of the data. I've presented two facts which seem in conflict with each other. First, in terms of the light from the beginning of time, which was first detected by Penzias and Wilson, the birthplace of the universe is 15 billion light years away from us. Second, in terms of the expansion of the galaxies, which is Hubble's discovery, we are at the very center of the expansion. We need to consider the strange situation where we are at the center of the cosmic expansion and 15 billion light years away from the origin of this expansion. How can we be both at the center and 15 billion light years away from the center? The central idea for understanding the nature of the universe's birth and development is that of Omni Centricity. The large-scale structure of the universe is more complex either than the Earth-centered picture of the medieval cultures or the fixed, three-dimensional Newtonian universe of modern culture. For we have discovered we are in a universe that is expanding and is centered upon itself at each place of its expansion. In this universe of ours, to be in existence is to be at the center of the cosmic expansion.